Morning, everybody. Kat here. Welcome to my channel. It's Monday morning. It's been a hell of a week for the Royals. We're going to talk about it, but we're going to start off on a good note, since most of this news is not that edifying. It has been reported by the palace that Catherine, Princess of Wales, has been discharged from the hospital, and she will continue her recovery at home. So that's one good thing. I'm not sure how much longer the king is going to be in the hospital, but I think in a matter of days he's going to be released as well. So that's the good news. There's a whole lot of not so good news. This week, two charities with royals involved have been embroiled in terrible controversy. First, we'll start with the king. One of his charities spout, a non-violence, reduction of violence charities working with people. Well, it seems that a singer who is an ambassador for the charity has been exposed in a very violent incident that was caught online in pictures, and it's now all over the internet. He beat up his assistant for losing his water bottle. I mean, just outrageous. Pulling his hair, beating him, kicking him, dragging him around. You can find it online. And he's really not remorseful about it. He said, well, yeah, he messed up. He lost my water bottle, and so he deserved a beating. Now, obviously, Charles had nothing to do with this, but it's that guilt by association. It just seems that, they're not vetting the people carefully enough, perhaps, that they're involving themselves with or involving their charitable works with. And we've seen these kind of gaffes before. I haven't seen a statement yet, but what's going to happen is that the royal charity, is going to have to completely distance themselves from this man and take him off of any association with the charity at all. So that's not good. It's not as bad as like the cash for honors scandals that the king's been embroiled in, grocery bags, $1 million in, $100 bills delivered to him in grocery bags for some such favors. And there's always been controversy around the royal family. You get that rich, powerful, and famous and rubbing shoulders with other rich, powerful, and famous people. There's, things are going to happen, So this is not good for the king. Although, what the charity has to do is just come out and make a statement and absolutely distance themselves from this guy and remove him from any activity, any title, ambassadorship of the charity, the whole thing. Just get rid of him. That's what has to happen there. And almost much worse, it seems Harry's charity, the African Parks charity that he was president of for almost 7 years, and he's recently been elevated to the board of directors of that charity. They've been found out to be, there's just some horrible allegations against park staff and against the locals in horrible physical assaults of every nature you can imagine against young girls, and you know what I'm talking about. Horrible things. And people are saying, well, you know, Prince Harry, how often is he in Africa? Just because he's, you know, his name's on the board of directors, and would he really have anything to do with it? It's another kind of guilt by association, but really has nothing to do with him. Well, I kind of beg to differ on this one, because this is not the first time that the African Parks charity has come under fire. For years, there's been problems reported, not necessarily of this nature, but I mean, I watched a documentary a couple of years ago where they were talking to the locals in this charity, and what they try to do. They're causing problems for the local villagers, taking resources away from them, making life difficult for the locals, instead to pump up the resources and whatever, the private land that the charity owns, the wildlife reserve and things. And I mean, the locals have been shut out of opportunity. They've had their lifestyle and their standard of living, which isn't great to begin with, affected by the operations of Parks Africa. And, you know, come to find out, and this is kind of common with any big charity, the locals seem to suffer for the thing, what the charity is doing. They don't take the locals into consideration. This charity, the Parks Africa, is promoting, you know, animal safaris for tens of thousands of dollars to rich people that can afford it to go. Yet they are reducing the standard of living of the locals. You know, they're making money off the back of the locals. Well, where have we heard that before? Just about any big charity, you're going to find corruption. And, you know, you hate to say it, and I don't want this to sound racist, but, you know, the middle of Africa, and, you know, warlords and rival factions and government corruption is rife over there, and it always has been. So something like this is not surprising. Now, would Harry have known about any of this? And I think he would have, because as acting president for 7 years, even, you know, you kind of say, well, in name only, he's put his name to this. We know that Harry is interested in Africa, so if he was going to pay attention to anything, he'd pay attention to this. And as its president, any problems or controversies or troubleshooting or things that have come up that they have to deal with in a diplomatic or PR kind of way, let alone practical changes to improve situation, those memos would have reached Prince Harry. Whether he was concerned about it, whether he really cared about the locals, we don't know. It's just the attitude. I mean, we know with the royals, we know with other elites, we know with basically, you know, the ones that run the show, they are all in for their own interest. They don't much consider the little people, you and I, the African villagers in this case. They don't consider the citizenry and their needs as important. I mean, their agenda and what they want to do is takes precedent over anything. And, from the World Economic Forum to all these other globalist fora that, are competing with each other to run the world, and that includes the royal family and all these other elites, and they have their own interests at heart. They don't mind affecting the lives of the citizenry to reach their own goals. And, with a large charity like this, I think it's much the same. So, and Harry having, his kind of elitist attitude, as we know, and one thing for him, another for the rest of you. He's been brought up with those attitudes, and he exhibits them daily, and we know that, and that's the hypocrisy, that's Harry. But it's like that for all the elites. So should this information about complaints of the locals that have been going on for years should affect him? Probably not, because it's the agenda that's the important thing. The recent information about the assaults and the types of assaults, and would this bother Harry enough to say something or step down or do something about it? Well, there's been rumors of Harry engaging in that same kind of behavior himself in the past, that should it ever come out, we would discover that it's been covered up by the palace to protect his reputation, which happens all the time. So I think you may see a bit of a PR campaign around this. But I really don't think you're going to see Harry making any kind of a statement. In the case of the king and the anti-violence charity and his ambassador Singer, and the violent attack, in that case, I think you may see a statement from Buckingham Palace regarding the removal of this ambassador from the king's charity. I think you'll see a statement there. I don't think Harry cares enough, and he doesn't care about his reputation. See, he still thinks he's Prince Harry. He still even though, at a movie premiere, they're stuck in the middle rows, in the middle of the row, halfway back of the theater, and he looked a little stunned. No royal box for you. Maybe he's starting to catch on that despite the title and despite the privilege, you just don't rate, buddy. Not anymore. Maybe he's catching on to that, and perhaps that would be a good thing, and he might alter his behavior. But in the case of what's bred in the bone, he'll always be a royal to that degree. You see that with Andrew as well. They're utterly confused as to why any scandal would mean anything and besmirch their reputation, because of course they're royal and they're better than you anyway, and they shouldn't have to answer for their actions. That's kind of how they think. And that's why Harry's in so much trouble now. I mean, him and Meghan, because the whole time that he was in the royal family as a working active member of the royal family, he benefited greatly from the protection and the PR machine that is, the palace. They protected him. They took care of him. They covered up for him. They can't do that anymore. And so he's being exposed. And I mean, we see the things on a day-to-day basis that him and Harry do, or him and Meghan do and say, and we snort with derision and say, can you believe these two? They've got to be, got to get rid of them. Well, now we're coming to find out that despite the perception that the palace gave us for many years that Harry was just this cheeky chappy and a bit of a rogue, but a good guy and a dedicated guy and a fun guy, but we're finding out that our perception of the old Harry was nothing but a PR exercise to promote what they wanted us to think about him and hide and protect him from all his bad behaviors, not let those out into the presence. So we're not, but those things are coming out now. So not only are we learning that Harry is really an asshole, we're also having it confirmed that the palace has protected him for decades from any backlash of bad behavior. So what does that say about the palace and the royal family? It's like these scandals. Yeah, they knew about it. Of course they knew, but how could you not know about it? It's like the palace. Everybody knew about it, but they hide it and they project something else to the public. And I mean, that's a fact. So you have to start looking at the royal family in a new light to try to understand what's really going on. Because just like a government, just like a World Economic Forum, just like any of these elite organizations that work to rule the lower classes, which is everybody but them, they have their own agenda. They only let you know what they want to project. You have to kind of dig out the information of what's really going on, and that's what we're all doing. And I think for hundreds of years, the royal family has gotten a pass as rather a benign organization, soft power. Oh, the queen, the present king really don't have any power, but it's, that's what they want you to believe. That's what they want you to believe. That's the perception that they want to give you, that they really don't have any power. They're really not, that important. They're figureheads. They're a tourist attraction. They're really, that's what they want to put out there. And that's not the truth at all. So there's huge deception there. Huge deception there. It's like the saying I've heard, the devil's biggest accomplishment was convincing everybody he doesn't exist. There you go. It's kind of, I'm not comparing them to the devil, but I'm just saying their PR machine not only covered up for Prince Harry, I mean, they've covered up all kinds of, we don't have a clue what's going on. But when you get these little tidbits, tips of the iceberg where we can investigate and you can see there's more to the story than you're ever being told, it requires us to look at the institution of the monarchy in a different light. And that's something I think we should all investigate. So, you know, that's up to you. Should you want to go down that rabbit hole, there's a bunch of them, but you'll learn a lot. I encourage you to do your own research. Of course, this is just my opinion. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Leave me a comment, like, subscribe, hit that notification button, share this video with your friends, and we will see you in the next one. Have a great day, everyone.